I, Gerald Meyer, Chairman of the Community Development Authority, the notice of the hearing will now be read. The public hearing regarding the proposed creation of project plan boundaries and creation of tax increment district number 1985-30-85-56 West National Avenue, City of West Dallas. The Executive Director of the Community Development has filed with the authority notice of the hearing. The affidavits of publication will be filed as soon as received from the official newspaper as required by section 66.1333 of the Wisconsin statutes. These documents will be part of the record of the proceedings of this matter. The purpose of this hearing to afford a full opportunity to all interested parties to express their views on the proposed consideration of tax increment district number 1985-30-85-56 West National Avenue, City of West Dallas, and the approval of the proposed boundaries and project plan. Therefore, B, following the closing of this hearing, the authority will consider a vote on the resolution regarding the designating the proposed boundaries and approving of this project plan for tax increment district number 1985-30-85-56 West National, City of West Dallas, Wisconsin. If adopted, the resolution will be submitted to the Common Council meeting of the City of West Dallas for approval as provided in section 66.1333 of the Wisconsin statutes. Statements by interested parties. Excuse me. I now ask Mr. Schlasher, the Executive Director of the Authority or his designated staff, to make a brief presentation with respect to the proposal before the authority. Patrick, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman and members of the authority, tonight we're fulfilling the statutory obligation on the process of creating a TIF district. We are looking at an area called at 86 and National, and my colleague Carson Kofi will talk about how this area was selected.
Thank you, Patrick. So starting out with the TID boundary map, as you can see here, the proposed TID is just one parcel. That's the parcel number up there on the screen, 478-998-003, address 8530 through 8556 West National Ave. It's just north of Honey Creek Park and the Historical Society building. It's the former Clark Oil headquarters, as you can see here. This is a fairly current street view picture of how the property looks. As you can see to the left here, this orange line is the parcel that would be in question for this TID, and then here is a rendering for the proposed development in that area.
The boundary of the TIF district is bordered by the railroad tracks to the north, and it's a single parcel. And as staff reviewed the area for consideration of TIF, we did think of a broader area, but in the sake of economics and the feasibility of this project, it was best to keep it within the boundaries of the single parcel that is under discussion for redevelopment. The project that is within this TIF boundary that is for consideration is a 6-story, 247-unit market rate apartment complex. The development is proposed by Three Leaf Partners. It has 319 underground parking stalls, an array of different size units from 1 bedrooms at 129 units, 2 bedrooms, 94 units, and 3 bedrooms at 15 units. The overall development is around a $69 million development with amenities like dog park, grilling stations, workout facilities, community room, etc., and of course balconies. It's very complementary to what you've seen with Element 84 and the West and Sona Lofts within our city. The area for development is the former Clark Oil building. You can see pictures of it here. Often when it comes to our TIF districts, we look at brownfield conditions or areas that need to be redeveloped. This site has some decades of lower occupancies, probably in terms of around 80 or lower % of occupancies, or 20% vacant or more on the property. It has also, it's kind of an outdated format. Economic obsolescence is often a condition of blight in terms of the condition or the spacing of office. It doesn't meet today's office standards. The site has had some conditions of overgrown landscaping, broken windows, etc., broken up asphalt, and things like that that are often a blight or shown a lack of investment in the property for the last number of years. The developer-funded TIF concept is where the structure of the TIF in the project plan is a pay-go structure, so the developer must capitalize the increment stream from the TIF. In other words, borrow from a bank in order to pay, and then the increment that's gained from the redevelopment is used to pay down the obligations for that borrowing. And this, by tonight's actions, you're approving the plan that allows for this process to occur. You can see here the redevelopment is structured as a pay-go. The pay-go is around 13.1 million today, or 28 million on a 6% discount. The pay-go will be incrementally paid over 27 years, which is the statutory life of the TIF by state statutes, and it is guaranteed by the developer. The estimated taxes that are gained from the development are around $1 million, almost $1 million a year, compared to 28,381 today in terms of taxes. The gain there that you see, 976, is that increment that can be used to capitalize the improvements on the site. When you look at how this area of the proposed development fits into the planning or long-term thinking of the city, we've done a National Avenue corridor plan a few years ago that talked about improving the corridor in terms of commercial use, trying to activate the area. You see some of it that was done in terms of street infrastructure with the bike path, amenities, and things like that. But the also element of it was to get more retail, improve retail, bring more residents to the corridor, et cetera. So if you look at the goals of that study, the idea was to attract more market rate, high density apartment developments through the corridor. So this project does meet those standards. Develop more residential housing. Residential development is crucial to the National Avenue. The idea is you're creating walkable, bikeable areas for people to live, and then they can use the neighborhood services in those areas. You might, such as like Flower Girl and a Flame in the corridor, or other services. There's a new retail store on National Avenue that's what's the Vintage?
The Ultra Twist Vintage.
Ultra Twist Vintage, like
Yep.
little unique stores that will fill these vacancies because we're doing more density in terms of development. And that was the overall goal of the National Avenue Corridor Plan. You know, why is a TIF being requested? Well, if you look at today's interest rates and construction materials, these charts reflect some of the changes in interest rates from the banks. This is January to present. You can see it just as an escalator going up in terms of the interest rates, and therefore it creates a financial gap in order to facilitate the development. The rents are growing in West Dallas. That's a proven fact. That this proposed development will also, when it comes online, will be increasing that rent level in our city. Construction costs, again, materials, supplies are being impacted by just labor and availability of materials. So here's another review of the interest rates and construction material kind of chart. The financial elements of the project. This is the developer leverage loan. Old National Bank is the possible lender on the project. The leverage is lower than projected, but in terms of where the goals are for a development and interest rates for construction, it creates a financial gap that justified the use of TIF. Overall, the current base value is around 1.3, almost $1.4 million. The development would exceed that, and that would create the increment for the project. Here's a chart that it shows the increment projections for the development. We use a constant TIF rate, a mill rate through this. We probably will see some fluctuation in that, but this is kind of our conservative approach to doing our projections for the TIF. Overall, I'd mentioned before, if you looked at over the period of 27 years, it does come out to be around 28 million, but we use a 6% discount rate. So in terms of what it's worth today, it's around $13.1 million of investment today up front to help facilitate the $69 million development. So at the end of the day, it's projected to have around a $48 million equalized value. You can see that we've kind of worked on that with a inflation factor increasing that value of the development. the but-for test of why we would use TIF in this situation and how we reviewed it. We worked with Ellers to structure a TIF district that would meet the statutory obligations. We also worked with SB Freeman to review the developers' projections as numbers. Now, we continue to negotiate the development agreement, but this is the overall concept of what we're doing to facilitate the development. The project would not occur without the use of TIF. It just, based on rents and the construction costs, it doesn't achieve reasonable returns to get equity investments in the project. And based on the review, the city has determined that, you know, this is economically feasible and it would be justified to use TIF. Our recommendation is to approve the boundaries and the project plan of TIF number 19. Gladly answer any questions you may have. We also have a representative of the developer here, John Peckin, and also our representatives from Ellers are here as well if you have any questions. Our finance director is not here tonight, but he did send an email saying he supports the TIF district, and he did say that same thing at the joint review board, and Wayne heard that at that meeting, so.
Does anybody wish to speak? Go ahead, Mr. Newman.
Thanks. Does the developer control the property?
Yes, they have bought the site.
Thank you. Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Alderman.
I apologize for being late, and I may have missed this at the front. Traffic control changes on National Avenue, are we gonna need something there, or?
I believe the project has gone through plan commission, and there was a traffic study that was reviewed. There are some pedestrian, I think amenities that were considered for crossing into the other side to the park. But other than that, we did not have any other improvements.
So, was it a pedestrian activated walk signal, or was it an actual full-on stoplight, or what are we?
I think the council was
Bump
just
outs?
improved crosswalks. I mean, there
Crosswalks.
wasn't
But it
anything
wasn't like it was
specific.
urgent, it was
Okay.
like
Yeah.
over time.
Okay. Well, I was just concerned about the vehicular traffic, and I guess that'll all be resolved by plan commission anyways. But I'm just wondering where those costs would fall, if it,
We did put money, if this TIF overperforms, we did put money in here in case there's a overperforming budget. We have contingency costs to do pedestrian improvements within the TIF.
okay, so if it does very well, then we would
We
take
could
advantage of
use
that.
excess increment to do improvements in the corridor.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Newman.
Sorry, one more question. Any consideration of condominium versus apartments?
I know this discussion has come up, and I've talked to multiple developers. When I bring up the word condo, the financing of those are even harder these days. And as you can see with recent headlines of condos collapsing, getting construction companies to actually want to build a condo, multi-story, has been difficult. Now, the developers here, and I can have them answer that question more specifically, but we did discuss that, but it's, you know, in the market right now, the apartments are the successful model.
Yeah, no, that's spot on, and really trying to find, or having confidence in the market that, you would have buyers when you actually deliver the building. That's been in question, just given how mortgage rates have trended.
Thank you.
Wayne? you- Oh, okay.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Alderman Cost.
Yeah, and just one thing I would add to that condominium question, I think it's good that we're talking about it, but let's say we go down the road of going condo because we feel there's a value in folks owning their property rather than being a renter. But also keep in mind those condos can be sublet, and you can end up with renters anyhow in a condominium complex, and now you just have even more of a problem where you have multiple owners that we as a city have to deal with. That's my thought on that.
I just want to add, we are looking at that concept if we can, in terms of more of a maybe ranch or you know, slightly urban style of a condo. We do bring it up to developers, and it might be more of a townhome model that could eventually be something that explored, but the condo discussion, in terms of the way in urban areas, it just seems like it's not a very strong discussion with developers, and lenders. So, we'll continue to explore that, but,
I appreciate you
Yeah.
continuing to explore it. Thank you.
You still looking at 247 units?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and now on the one end of the property.
Would you speak up, please?
Yeah,
Oh,
please
on-
speak
On
up.
one end of the property, it narrows, National Avenue, Angle Street, and you're up against the railroad. I don't know if that's, a Canadian company probably, and stuff that owns that, so what is the footage going from the sidewalk to, on the one end, and versus the west side of that?
Oh boy, I would need to have plans in front of me to tell you what the setbacks are.
Uh-huh.
But, we've worked closely with our design team to make sure that the building is, positioned, so it's.
And is it gonna be right up to the
No,
sidewalk, or
it
is
would
there
not, it would not be
a
right.
green space? How much green space is there gonna
I can't tell you the exact amount, but there is a buffer.
be? It really seems,
It would be in our best interest to do that because we don't want a building with residential units
Which
that are
one?
facing the tracks to abut up it right against a
Yeah.
railroad track.
I'm trying to find one.
Are there any more questions before we go to part B of this situation? All right, I'll read part B and then we'll consider more questions. Any interested parties and tenants may now express their views for the purpose of the creation of tax increment district number 85, 830, 85, 56 West Nash, City of West Dallas, with approval of proposed boundaries and project. Please raise your hand to be recognized. Upon being recognized, please state your name, your address, and your interest in this proposal. You may proceed with your statement. If you appear on behalf of an interested party, please state the name of the party you represent. Does anyone wish to speak at this time? Sir, you have no more questions? Could you tell me your name, please?
Brian Gerard.
Okay, you got that. Thank you.
How many tips do we have out as far as the city goes?
This is the 19th district. Not all of them are, I think we have 8 of them that are closed, so.
Okay, now another thing, at the last meeting, you guys, somebody compared it to the, buildings around the market, as far as the apartments there and stuff. Now, I could be wrong, but I think at one point, some of those were supposed to be condos and they weren't selling, so they ended up being apartments and stuff.
No.
No,
Not the latest ones.
no, I mean, there were
No, this is earlier.
early designs where they might have had condos, but the apartments were all part of the plan that was proposed by Mandel versus Tolt. And then going back, there is a condo development in the 6 Points area around 64th or 63rd and Greenfield Avenue. Those condos do work. It does have retail on the lower level, and there are condos, I believe, that are all occupied within the upper levels.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Could we have your address, please?
2189 South 90th.
Thank you, sir.
If I might ask, sir, you're asking your questions because you're concerned about this project?
Yes.
Impact on you or your neighbors?
The whole area, yes. We have a park right next to the Historical Society, and I feel that 247 units is just the density is way too much for the, lot size, and that it'll, people will be looking for a green space, and they'll take over the park and the school playground and everything else there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The site is 3 acres, and it's actually in line with the density that we've done with Element 84 and the West and Sona, in terms of the number of units on 3 acres in ratio. I don't have the ratios in front of me, but I know we took a look at that.
All right, Mr. Suter?
Patrick, was any consideration given to the parcel to the east that's been vacant and why it was thrown out?
So the
in terms
parcel
of
to
the boundaries?
the parcel to the east is not vacant. It's owned by it's a family psychologist of some sort. providing services, so there are people that use that property. That it's just not a piece of land that is, I guess from the developer's perspective, at this time, they did not need that parcel. I can't say there's long-term plans for that parcel, but it is actually a very narrow parcel, in terms of trying to get the cost and the development that you would need for that.
Excuse me, got one more question. Speaking of adjacent parcels, there's like a truck company behind the west parking area. I think maybe hydraulic, some company.
Dan Kroll Company, in case you want the name of it.
This shouldn't affect their business?
No.
So, Dan Kroll Hydraulic Services is located in the building that's along the railroad tracks to the north. We actually went out and met with Stephen Kroll last week. He actually owns that and there's like a little multi-tenant building, which he actually has another business that has an office in that business. It's R Now, which sells municipal garbage trucks, street sweepers, and sewer service vehicles. So his offices are in there, and he sells those nationally. So we had a chance to talk with them and about the development. He actually encouraged the development. So there are some things the developer is working through relative to that and that relationship between the development and Mr. Kroll, but that is more of a private real estate issue at this time.
There being no other parties wishing to speak at this time? All right, there being no other parties wishing to speak this time, at the authority, I do declare the hearing closed and will now proceed with the next order of business.
Mr. Chair, are you looking for motions regarding the boundaries and the proposal?
Well, I was gonna read it, then we'll do it. Okay, item 3, resolution establishing boundaries and approving the proposed plan for tax increment district number 19. You now have the floor, Ben. Oh, Mr. Clark, if you wanna give us
I'd move what's been proposed for the boundaries and the project. I move, make a motion.
okay.
A second.
Has it been moved for a motion and second? Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes. I'll go to item 4. Discussion on 6771 West National Avenue. Patrick?
Mr. Chair, I'll turn this one over to my colleague Sean Miller.
Thank you. This is as you recall from previous meetings, this is just another sort of monthly update on our Kearney Trecker manufacturing facility that's owned by the Community Development Authority, located on the corner of 68th and National Avenue. It's a 41,000 square foot former manufacturing facility that we have a letter of intent. The CDA has a letter of intent with Baum Revision to potentially develop, and Baum Revision in turn has a letter of intent with a potential tenant to utilize the site, and is working through development agreement with city staff, and along with working through detailed plans for the property. As you recall from the last meeting, we received some good news that the single issue review, which took up much time and resources, has been approved by the National Park Service. This would allow for the ability to utilize historic tax credits, which is a key funding source for the project, and really has kind of moved things into motion much quicker than they had been going. So it's a big positive that was received for that. They've since tightened up some of their floor plans. As you can see, the red spaces are generally the event spaces, and then the yellow spaces are a combination of office and warehouse space by the tenant, which would be also operating the event space. They would have their offices and warehouses within the space as well. This is a view of the sort of partial second floor in the building, the mezzanine level. You can kind of see they would install an elevator in between and then connect. Those two corridors currently do not connect, and they would connect in the future. There are some key elements that we'd like to talk about in closed session, the development agreement in detail, parking and environmental, and happy to take any questions you may have on this now.
We'll hold all the questions till closed session. And item 5, discussion proposed redevelopment of 84th Street in Cleveland area. You want to hold that for closed session too?
Yes, we will.
All right. And then item 6, discussion 6400 block West Greenfield Avenue. Want to hold that for closed session?
We would, yes.
All right. And we'll go to item 7, consideration relative report on redevelopment initiatives. You have the floor. Patrick's gone.
So,
Okay, I didn't see you come back in.
Yep. As it relates to the, letter C on here, the market, tip number 15, if anybody's been by the, Sona, area, the area, 66th and National, south of National, where the Makers Row development has begun. You can see the foundation's been poured for Makers Row, and the soil is, piles are moving out. They actually started on the trucking of the soils out to another area, another landfill on Saturday, and they've been kind of going pretty frequent. They're pulling soils. The soil piles are coming down on the adjacent properties to Makers Row, as well as soils coming out of Makers Row, where the building will be located. So.
There's one more slide with pictures. There you go.
Yeah.
So a lot of progress on the site since our last meeting.
We have not sold it yet, though, but we're close. This is just something that I wanted to point out. We have a call scheduled tomorrow, but you know, nationally, the tech schools are seeing a decline in enrollment, and then you know, classes have generally gone virtual. So when you look at the amount of parking, and we've been monitoring it like around MATC and seeing large spaces of concrete sitting there unparked. And there always was some discussion about the parking lots and what to do with them, etc. So we're having a discussion tomorrow with MATC leading up to a bigger discussion that they're having later in the month about possibly selling, maybe considering selling some parcels. There's also, within time, there's a welding school in this building, and they might be exploring putting this in a different campus, and then this whole area would be sold for redevelopment. So potentially, I just wanted to just put that out there. There's just some discussions occurring on that. We may have a role in this, as it, you know, with the long-term vision of Alice Yards, and there was some residential proposed along in this particular area, etc. So we'll see how that transpires.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Clark.
Patrick, that bottom arrow to that building that has the welding operation in it, is that where the auto group used to be? Auto repair, MATC?
No, can I answer that, or do you want?
Yeah, I don't know.
The auto repair was in the building right alongside of Madison, right in the bottom part of that building.
Over here
Yeah.
in the parking structure.
No, see where the welding repair building is?
Yeah.
Okay, and right on the other side of the street there?
Here.
Go north,
To the
just go
north.
north.
Yeah, that's
This
a
is the
parking lot.
1205 office
Okay,
building.
and that building right behind it, that's where auto repair was.
Oh,
Does
The
that
bottom
still
of-
exist? I take it doesn't.
I'm unaware that
I
there's
guess I'm
auto.
back in the sixties again.
Okay, you know what that building was? That was Duckler Pontiacs. They
Yep.
used to sell new Pontiacs there.
That's right.
Okay,
And they had a car lot right next door to it.
okay.
And their used car lot was across from the church on National, the old Paradise Theater is where the high school church is.
So this is, you know, just in terms, I know we're, in terms of, you know, the office space usage and through this corridor is evolving, and we've talked about that. And then the school district admin offices that are most likely moving to another location in time. So with all this area and how it evolves is something of a long-range discussion. So that we'll have to continue to monitor or figure out, what our community most needs.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, just a second, Mr. Neal first.
I take it from the way you framed the conversation, MATC owns the parking lots?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, I pointed out the parking lot by the daycare. The daycare is utilized fully during school. And then the parking lot is not
Not so much.
not so much. But then, you know, these, in terms of, back in this area, it's owned by, it related to the 1205 building. But there is a front lot, we don't have all the parcels on here because we'll get there eventually. But this one is owned by MATC, but the PAC relate to the 1205 building. So we are having a discussion with MATC and the developer.
Okay, the existing developer.
I saw your eyes and I.
That was my
The
question.
existing
Thank you.
developer,
Thank you.
yes. And he also has another developer that would come in and partner, and has some thoughts about this area as well. So,
Is there any other questions regarding item number 7? If not, we'll go into closed session. For agenda items 4 to 6, the committee convene in closed session upon prudent to the provisions of section 19.85/1/E of the state statutes for the purpose of delivering, investing public funds whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. This committee can convene an open session after completion of its closed session to consider the balance of agenda. Can I have a motion to go into closed?
Second.
There's a motion to go into closed session. All in favor, please say, oh wait, we got a roll call for that.
Wayne Clark,
Yes.
Don Niemer,
Yes.
Alderman Weigel,
Yes.
Alderman Haas,
Yes.
Jerry Motter,
Yes,
Mike Suter.
Yes.
we're now in closed session. Patrick, you have the floor.
just
maybe they.
The energy level was just completely different.
Yeah.
If somebody
I
parks
felt
there,
like-
they don't care.